And I would ask that the village board decide whether we should be invisible and not staff.
Okay, we are live streamed. So John, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Village of Shorewood Hills Board of Trustees. Today is Friday, excuse me, February 6th. It is 10:01 a.m. Julie, can you do the roll call?
Yes.
But before we get to roll call, I need to know which two trustees called this special meeting. That wasn't clear to me in the packet.
It wasn't two trustees.
Are special meetings able to be held if two trustees do not submit it in writing?
I'm gonna let Brian.
Sorry about that. I was the one that actually put together the request for the meeting.
I was just searching through our ordinances recently, and I could not find that in writing anywhere that a village administrator can call a special meeting.
As far as I know, the meeting was requested, shared with village president, and the decision to call the meeting was made.
So a meeting was requested. That's what I'm asking. By whom and who seconded it, and where is that in writing?
By me to the village president.
I think the point that Kate's trying to make is because procedure matters. That's just not that's not how process works. And if we've got to stick to a process. If we're gonna have a special board meeting, we need to follow the statute, and that requires two trustees to make that request in writing.
Are you sure that that is absolute, that it's only trustees can call a meeting? I would question that.
Well, if anybody here would like to provide a statutory citation or an ordinance citation that says the administrator calls special board meetings, then yeah, you can do that. But
I would counter that by saying if somebody can produce an ordinance that says that the administrator cannot call a meeting, it is clear that if trustees want to call a meeting, it takes two trustees. But you're suggesting that because of that excludes the administrator, and
there's nothing that gives the village administrator authority to call a special board meeting.
There's nothing that says he does not have the authority.
All the authority that a village has comes from its statutes, from statute. Absent statute, you don't have authority.
You can't prove a negative, Bob.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna call people from this point forward. Julie, I see your hand up.
I didn't know this question was going to be asked, so I do not have anything in front of me. However, it is my understanding that the two trustee rule is that two trustees can force a meeting to be called. It's not a requirement to call a meeting. That's my understanding of that. So if say, for example, Shamnam, you wanted to have a meeting and the rest of the board was like, no, we'll wait for the regular meeting. Then you get another trustee who says, no, we need to do this meeting now. It can force a meeting.
Sure, but that's not what we're talking about. We're just saying, where does the village administrator get to call a meeting? I mean, how is he any different than anybody else? Can Julie call a meeting if Julie wants to call a meeting? Where does it say the administrator gets to call a meeting?
Mark?
I'd say two things. One, there's lots of precedents where administrators have called meetings. Carl called meetings, particularly special meetings when necessary, and this issue wasn't raised. I think we should set this issue aside and move on to the substance of the meeting because the board still has to approve the agenda. If the board chooses not to approve the agenda, this meeting will not be held. So I think to me, effectively, that is the board either supports or does not support this meeting. And we'll find out in just a minute if we could just get to that part of the agenda.
The board can't support illegal things,
Thanks.
Mark.
Brian, all right, this is not the public comment period. This is the board discussion right now. So let's move forward to the roll call then, Julie.
President Imes,
Present.
Carol Barford,
Here.
Bob Falk,
Present.
Mark Lederer,
Here,
Shabnam Lutfi,
Here.
Kate Alsvik,
Here.
and Dietmar Basooner did inform me he would not be available, so he is an excused absence today.
Thanks for that, Julie. Item 3, approval of the agenda. Does someone want to make a motion? Mark?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And I
Thank you.
second that.
Thank you, Bob. Further discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion point. So 2 or 3 years ago, it was very important to the board that we would follow a template, that you could not make changes to that template. Approval of the agenda was not on it. I never voted for this. I think it's silly and ridiculous. But if you guys are, it is important to you that we have a template. You have to follow the rules that you guys pass. And approval of the agenda is not on the is not allowed. It's not an item that we ever allowed. So I really struggle with the board making rules and not following its own rules. So you can't really approve this. You can't have an agenda that doesn't follow the board approved agenda template. And I will say this every single meeting until you guys follow your own rules or just get rid of it. It's silly that that everybody is stuck to follow a template and can't change it, but you guys passed it. So own up what you pass.
Okay. Thank you, Shabnam. All right, further discussion on item 3? Ready to vote? All those in favor of approval of the agenda, please say aye or raise your hand.
Can we do a roll call vote on this?
Sure, Kate. Julie, can we do a roll call on this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just need to do some quick typing to get everybody's names in. Thank you.
No worries. You bet.
Okay, here we go. Carol Barford,
Yes.
Bob Falk,
Yes.
Mark Lederer,
yes,
Shabnam Lutfi,
No.
Kate Alsvik,
No.
and John Imes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Julie. Item 5, procedures orientation. I'm sorry, item 4, statement of public notice. Just want to confirm that the meeting was properly noticed.
It was
Yes.
not. It was not.
Brian,
it would-
I'm sorry, you're not part of this meeting.
But
So,
when does somebody object to you saying it was publicly noticed when it wasn't?
Brian, you know,
Hey,
if I-
Brian, you are not part of this meeting.
Who objects to when it was properly noticed?
Brian,
then?
you can
Tell
make
me.
a public comment during public comment.
So it's okay.
Thank you. All right. Meeting, Julie, I just want to confirm again that the meeting was properly noticed.
Yes, it was posted in 3 places by 9:30 yesterday afternoon. And was also posted on the website yesterday.
Thanks for confirming that. Item 5, procedures orientation. Just want to remind folks that this meeting is also being broadcast on the Village Facebook site. Any comments or questions made on that site will not be responded to contemporaneously. Those comments or questions can be sent directly to the village administrator, Brian Mooney. Item 6, public comments. This is an opportunity for community members to speak to the board. No discussion or action may take place at this time, though trustees may ask clarifying questions. Only speakers may be limited to 3 minutes. I'm going to limit to 4 minutes. I'll raise my hand when it's at 3.5 minutes. I know we have a written comment that was submitted for the board. Written comments can also be submitted directly to Brian Mooney. And before we begin the public comment, I just want to set up a brief framework. The board welcomes public input and takes resident concerns seriously. When the same topic has been raised multiple times, our role is to ensure comments are heard, clarified where appropriate, and then addressed through proper processes rather than repeated debate at the microphone or at the Zoom. This helps keeps our meeting productive, fair, and respectful for everyone. Let's open up the public comments. I see Mary Gulbranson's hand raised. Start with you, Mary.
I'm trying to get my video to work.
Yeah, no worries.
My name is Mary Gulbranson. I'm a 35-year resident of 1506 Wood Lane. I've been on the personnel committee for over a decade, and I've helped with the elections in the village of Shorewood Hills for 18 years. I'm commenting for two reasons today. The first of which is to acknowledge and thank the village staff for the incredible work they have done for the 35 years anyway that I've been here. It seems to me that our streets are cleared. Our police are very professional in the way they carry out their business. Our staff notices of our taxes that are due. They collect our taxes. They pay the village bills. They carry out quite proficiently our election process. They do many, many things. They make sure our water is safe. And the list goes on and on and on. And I just want to publicly acknowledge what they do and to thank them for all their service. From the time we moved here, it was Terrence, we've had Koki, we've had Carl, we've had Carla, we've had Sherry Carbon. So many people have worked for the village and done an exemplary job, which leads me to my second reason for speaking. It appears to me that there's a group of people in the village who would like to see us no longer be an independent municipality. I just want to publicly state that I hope that the board continues to support the staff that is necessary to carry out our functions as a public independent municipality. I, again, have to acknowledge and reiterate that I think our staff do an incredible job, and I just want to thank them for getting us through hard times. As I said, I've been here 35 years. We've had other contentious issues that have arisen throughout this time. And to my knowledge, this is only the second time I've ever spoken in front of this board. But it really frightens me that there's the potential that we will dissolve as a village. And I just can't help but, I have been down in the village hall this week because I'm part of the group that sends out absentee ballots. And it's just, we're terribly understaffed. And I hope the board does all it can today to support our existing staff and to quickly and competently fill our vacant positions. I have nothing more to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate that. Erica, I see your hand up.
Am I audible?
You are.
Good. Many of you know me. I've spent many years on the personnel committee. I'm guessing it off and on at probably 30. I've served a term or two on the board of trustees. I've lived in the village for 51 years. In my view, the people who work here are the crown jewels of the village. It's a beautiful place to live, but it wouldn't be the place it is without competent, caring people. Your job as a board is to nurture and protect those people. And I think some of you have fallen seriously short. Nothing entitles any member of the board or any member of the community to harass, harangue, criticize a member of the staff. Nothing. If you have a problem, it should be directed to the administrator or the president, not the staff. Some of you have lost your way. You're so caught up in your own grievances that you're spreading negativity. You're behaving in ways that are uncivil and that are destructive to everything that makes this village the wonderful place it's been to live. If you were elected, or if you're seeking election, you're responsible to act in the best interest of the village, to get payroll out, to get out utility bills, to sell dog licenses, to deal with elections. You need experienced people to do that. If you run the people off, there's no one to do the work. And if the work isn't done, you fall short. It's your responsibility. Now, a word about open records requests. I'm familiar with them. I lived in state government. They can be used as a way to bludgeon a small staff. There's a lot of merit to open records requests, and I support them. But when they are used to beat down a staff that is already so minuscule that they can barely carry out their functions because of loss of employees, at some point, I just ask you to apply some intelligent judgment and think about how we are going to get the work of the village done, and how are we going to create an environment where anyone wants to come and work for this village. If they are not protected from the abuse that some of you have handed them, I don't know why anyone would have any incentive to come and work here. This is not the village that I know. So I'll say two little truisms as I conclude. One is, if you can't say something nice, don't say it at all. And the second is, straighten up and fly right. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate those comments. Marilyn, we'll go to you next.
Can I be heard now?
Yes, you're
All
up.
right, wonderful. I appreciated the comments from Mary Gilbranson and Erica Mosher. Couple things. I object. This meeting was not properly noticed. A staff member cannot call the government together. And I urge the trustees not to take any official action in what is clearly an illegal meeting. But moving right along, I also object to the lack of transparency. We have a meeting called within 24 hours by our administrator to give him and the finance director, treasurer, and the administrative assistant a 20% increase, leaving aside whether or not the fiscal impact that has on our wonderful community, whatever it is. He said he can manage it. Well, we, the taxpayers, decide that. And this has not been to the Finance Committee. As a member of Finance, this should have been to Finance. We just had a meeting January 26th where one staff person said, hey, we have a lot of work. I said, okay, so who's working overtime of the hourly employees? I was told they weren't. They have a flex schedule. I said, okay, we've got to address that. We have 11 to 13 committees. We assign staff to each one to take minutes. The staff person said, well, that really wouldn't address the issue. But this has to go to Finance. We have a board meeting coming up on February 24th. Finance can have a special meeting, and there are certain questions the residents want to know, and not just from a memo by our administrator, who I have so much respect for. But what are the current salaries of the administrator, the finance director, treasurer, and what is the hourly salary of the administrative assistant? What are the additional duties required? We are told in the memo that the village staff is in dire straits. There's many important tasks and projects that will be delayed. I have represented workers for over 35 years, and I'm not new to the fact that there are certain critical tasks. But what Finance should be directed to do is ask staff to detail the tasks they have to do, what they can currently do in their position and what they cannot do. It is up, I would say, the Finance Committee can make a recommendation to the board on February 24th. These are certain critical tasks. We have to get them done. How are we best going to do that? Simply giving people 20% increase does not address the issue of why we have staff turnover. I respectfully disagree with my respected colleague, Erica Mosher, because I saw during the logic building, the president and they assigned our staff to prepare 2 budgets in the fall. In addition, do the due diligence. I was apologizing to staff, number one, and number two, when board came out of June, July, and August of closed meetings, I was shocked there were no due diligence documents. So I did a public records request. And with all due respect to my colleague, Erica Mosher, the public records requests have come in direct response to the current leadership of our board refusing to be transparent.
Marilyn,
Thank you.
okay, thanks so much. All right, we'll start on my screen from left to right. Rocky, I see your hand up.
All right. For those who don't know, I'm Rocky Van Asten. I live on Tally Ho Lane, been in the village just under 40 years, past trustee, past lots of stuff. I also agree with Marilyn, this meeting is not legal, even if the board thinks it is. The fact that this many people are upset, they should just stop today and take a breath. This board has got to stop panicking and throwing money everywhere, hoping people will just stop complaining. My grandmother used to always tell me it only takes a second to tell the truth and forever to tell a lie. The reason the village is seeing all these freedom of information requests and turmoil is it appears to many of us, the 5 leaders of this board, Mark, Carol, Dietmar, Bob, and John, along with the village administration, are lying about everything. Also, as a side note, why are Bob and Dietmar, well, Dietmar is not here, they're both lame ducks. They shouldn't be sitting here taking part in this throwing of money ritual. Isn't it strange? Just when the village needs transparency, financial competency, and adult judgment the most, all we seem to get is more secrecy, surprises, and a board finding new ways to blow money. This board has completely lost the plot. The short term, pool and marina committees can take care of everything that has to be done except the money. Just step out of it and let those committees deal with it. The board can ask other employees, Koki, Sherry, Betsy, to step in and help for a little while. If Brian really needs a 20% pay raise, the board should show him the door and call Carl Franz. This is extortion. I've worked as an engineer for over 40 years. Many times I've worked 60+ hours a week on significant events. Never was I given a 20% raise or $5,000 retention bonuses. Afterwards, we might have been given a free night out or a few days off. This is the reality all of us outside the board live in. This board is almost ensuring we will become part of Madison. It's time to stop. Good governance only recurs in rash decisions. Send today's issues to the finance and the personnel committees. Reopen it at a regular February board meeting. Stop the panic and start behaving like rational adults. Thank you.
Thanks, Rocky. Brian, I see you're up next.
Yep, so I'd like to share my screen if I may. Can somebody approve it so that it's shared, please? So right here is the creation date and time of your notice. It's not 24 hours in advance. So just to be clear, the reason for my objection before is because I have evidence in your own files that that is not true. So I would ask that this just simply be halted as it is. But considering I have 4 minutes to speak, unless you want to just end it right now, my following is this. Oh, yes. What's up, Julie?
Julie, would you like to
I'll
comment?
finish my own comment first. So,
I'll comment when he's finished.
Okay.
so I and most of us have worked in the private sector here. How many of you, when things are hard, have gone to your bosses and demanded a 20% raise and a retention bonus? If you did, would you not have expected to be shown the door immediately immediately upon doing so, or very shortly thereafter by making it that much harder on your employer during a time when things were difficult? I've never heard of anything like this before. And if someone did it to me and my staff, boy, it would not be, it would be resented, right? Like it's not a fair ask. I mean, it is legal. They can do it. It's not actually extortion. But boy, it's certainly hardball. And as a resident and a taxpayer, and from folks who are aware of the fact that you all, because of, I'll just call it financial mismanagement of the village, are spending out of our rainy day fund to meet our operations costs and planning to put a levy out there, that this seems like a stretch to ask for more money in a time when we realize that we are short on cash. It's certainly not an emergency that should make everybody take work off on Friday in the morning with less than 24 hours notice to be able to craft or look at or evaluate or make an intelligent decision. I don't see how you could expect anybody to be ready in time, even on a Thursday at 10 to a Friday at 10 for a special meeting. If we want to do this, if this is necessary, this is the kind of thing that should have been put on a regular schedule so folks would have time to think about it, discuss it, get impact from the committees. Lastly, I believe that the split, the schism between our residents and our staff really started when we fired our residents from working at Village Hall. It used to be that we had some of us working alongside the folks in the village that do. And at some point, it became us versus them. That change, it hasn't been healthy. And it's been exacerbated by John's poor leadership in making rash, poorly executed, poorly justified, non-transparent efforts like Logic, like this, I can go on, but those, now we have such a lack of trust that everything that happens requires Freedom of Information Act just to get answers about it. For example, when was he communicating with Falk? Gloria asked him, he won't answer that question. He says you got to do a Freedom of Information Request Act. We have tons of examples of this. You're creating a cycle by which we're burdening staff. You're asking staff to do things 3 or 4 times more than they need to. And the staff is quitting because the residents are upset about the lack of transparency. And then the justification is to give them more money on a short, quick Friday morning with nobody having a chance to even know what's going on. I don't think it's a responsible way to handle our tax dollars.
Thank you, Brian. Julie?
I just want to respond to Brian's comment and screen share. As you remember at the beginning of the meeting when I stated it was properly noticed, legally the village needs to post this in 3 locations in the village, which was done by a police officer who signed the paper copy. I have it here. And I continue to say that it was posted later that morning on the website. Yes, it was 10:48. Yes, there's a reason that we are underwater here, and I apologize that it didn't get on the board, on the website sooner, but we are legally in compliance. And
that file was created at that time, Julie.
That's when it was uploaded, and I have the receipts. I'm not going to argue or debate. I just want to let the board know that we are legally noticed per our ordinance.
You uploaded a file, and that's the file's time of creation, Julie.
Brian, we're gonna appreciate it. We're gonna move on. Julie, thanks for that. Rocky, if I could ask you to lower your hand, and then we'll move to Kate Crowley.
Thank you. I'm struggling with words because what just transpired. This meeting was not legally noticed. I have a different screenshot showing that there was no information on the website at 10:52 yesterday. I mean, I don't know, we can call this legally noticed, but is that what we're trying to do here as a community, is just meet the letter of the law, but not meet the expectations of the community and not provide transparency? Is this okay? Is this really how we're running the village at this point? I mean, I'm flabbergasted. I'm also stunned, just absolutely stunned, that this board just approved this agenda, which is illegal. Our village administrator does not have the authority to call a meeting. And if you don't know the answer to that, you need to get the answer to that before you carry on with this meeting. It is, in 25 years that I've been working in local governments, I've never reacted like this. I've never seen anything like this. This is shocking that we just have 4 or 5 board members, just say, well, we don't know the law, but let's just go ahead. Just stunned. And I don't know how anything in this meeting that happens is legal, and I don't know how anything that is approved in this meeting isn't challenged, because that'll be the first thing that I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. David, I see you next up.
Thank you. I'd like to just take a kind of a step back and look at, we're treating symptoms, or we're attempting to treat symptoms. People have said, I worked, this is David DeVito, by the way, Village 20 years, was on the board, obviously followed this for a long time. We've never had this before. And everyone keeps saying, like, why are people doing this? What's happening? It goes to the top. Like, this has never happened before. We've never had open records requests like this before. We've never had staff turnover like this. Where does the buck stop? The buck stops with John Imes. John Imes runs this village. As president, you have a lot of authority. As president, you have a lot of responsibility. This is on John Imes. He runs this village with the help of others, residents, trustees, staff. The question is, the symptoms, this bleeding out, so to speak, of the village, we can debate whether the staff deserve this or that, whether, they're holding us hostage, whether the finance committee should be involved, whether it's justified. Like, I want to know how much do they get paid versus other municipalities? That's like step one whenever an employee asks, like, do we have data on that? Why isn't the finance committee involved in coming up with that data? Are they overpaid already? And it's just a function of, of the wrong people. I don't know. I respect the staff, and I agree with a lot of people who say we need them, because I think we are at an existential crisis here. However, these are symptoms, and we can treat the symptoms, but the disease is coming from the top. Residents and board members saying that, and I won't go off on this for long because I've already gone off on this multiple times. We have a right, a legal right, for open records requests. We have a legal right to ask our village what they're doing if they are not providing it voluntarily. And again, I will not be chastised for open records requests. I will not be told the staff is too busy, don't ask them. If you really think about it, how convenient that John Imes continues to push 100 miles an hour behind the scenes. We have complete dysfunction because of him, arguably, at the staff level, and therefore we can't ask questions. It almost seems like this is his method at this point. This dysfunction actually helps John, and maybe he's even creating it on purpose. Now, that's a little conspiratorial. I don't think it's that thought out, but it is convenient that we don't, that we're not allowed to see what's going on. Lastly, I will say at this point, regardless of whether the meeting's legal, regardless of whether we decide to pay staff more, I'm a little agnostic to all this, truthfully, and but I do respect people. I do respect process. So, but at this point, the village is in an existential crisis. We need basically to strip down and go into like survival mode, right? So what does survival mode mean? We need to have elections. We need to pay bills. We need to do taxes. We need to clean streets. We don't need to talk to developers. We don't need to do these big projects at DPW. We don't need to make big decisions on millions of dollars on things that are not fully baked. So I know others have raised the point of like, well, we have to spend this money now because we have this bond issuance, and I'm not even sure we have to, but let's say we want to. Let's spend it on streets. Let's spend it on infrastructure that we know needs to be done, that is not controversial, that has long-term benefit to the village, because we have to do it. We have to do streets and infrastructure at some point. Forget about talking to Flad, forget about logic, forget about raising the roof or the pool, and I hate to say that because I want these things done. But the board, and specifically the president, have not put us in a position to do those things now. So instead of rewarding Imes and others for this complete failure of leadership and complete failure of management, let's just retract. Let's do the basics. If we have to spend millions of dollars in something, let's spend it on infrastructure we have to do anyway. And you know what? Maybe John and others who aren't getting their pet projects done, who aren't, maybe satisfying their desire to develop and, have this legacy with developers, which I'm not opposed to. The Flad stuff, I actually kind of like most of it. There are some issues around it. There's some issues on process. There's some issues on transparency of how this came about. But if I were to get the information through open records, I might be for it. So I am not against this stuff, but we're not in a position to do it as a village. And that's because of the complete dysfunction that many on this board and specifically John Imes have fostered. One last quick thing. Chastising board members, chastising residents for asking staff for information, for asking staff for open records, when John Imes has created this ecosystem of us versus them, as others have said, is not acceptable. And it's not going to end. This is our legal right. This is something, it's not being used maliciously. What we're asking for, these aren't just, we're not spamming open records. We're asking for specific things that John Imes is not willing to share. And we will continue doing that. Thank you.
David, a clarifying question. Do you think a fair representation of why the staff are leaving include the written comments that we've received from staff, the testimony we've had from committee members and trustees? And I don't remember my name in any of that correspondence. So that's just a clarifying comment and question for you. The record shows why staff is leaving. Certainly Brian has spoken to that. We've had some other residents speak to that, but I'll leave that out there for your consideration. Kate, if I could ask you.
I'll answer that if you'd like. If it's a clarifying, is it a clarifying question or is it? Or
No, go ahead, David. Feel free to respond.
Yeah, well, staff has made a lot of allegations, and staff has made, specifically the resignation letters of feeling unsafe, of feeling threatened, hostile work environment. I have not heard of any lawsuits. I have not heard of any formal legal proceedings. I have not heard, truthfully, really any outside of one incident that we could all debate with a trustee. One of the resignation letters says, like, I don't feel safe. Why? What other examples? Oh, people asking questions, people sending pointed letters, people asking uncomfortable questions is not hostile. So tell me, John, again, we can debate the incident that occurred, although I don't, listen, Shamna was there for 2 hours. The police chief was there. She was never asked to leave. Let's not get into the weeds on that. Besides that one incident that has some debate around it, what other hostile things are happening? What other threatening things? What could possibly have happened that we haven't heard about where where staff is concerned for their safety? I'd like to hear that.
We're going to move on, David, but appreciate your
I
response.
figured. Thank you.
So, Sam, I think I see you next on
Yep,
my
you
board.
do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Since I'm the daughter of a carpenter and a house builder, I look at this problem of you're asking for a 20% base increase as being one along the lines of a pipe that has burst in your house, but you need the water, so you don't turn the water off. You just try to do something to get along and increase your bill payment because you're wasting water, but you're still getting water to your sink. That's in effect what you are asking us to do. We have too much pressure currently in the administrative staff. It needs to be reduced. And instead, we're going to try to just buy our way out of the problem. This is not solving the problem. Now, in deference to what Dave just said, the Personnel Committee has done all the evaluations on what staff are being paid in different areas. They have that information now. I think that it is the personnel's responsibility to now raise the question, as they are the ones on the front line, to see the problem. We cannot afford to continue to pay them going forward. We have a problem with too much work, too little people, and too little of a village to support the large administration that we have. And we need to admit that, but we won't. And that all happened with, of course, Sharon coming in with good old, with John basically saying, when he was told, you can hire this woman, but be careful. She needs to have guardrails on her. She is ambitious and she is going to take us places where we may not want to go. And indeed, she tried to turn us into Madison or Milwaukee or someplace that's totally inappropriate for who we are. So she started basically threatening us with lawsuits if committees were making decisions. That's not true. We have never had a committee make a decision. These things were all basically red herrings. They're not out there. We need to step back and say, what do we really need to do? We have a lot of seasonal things that put pressure on the administration. Registration of boats during January. The recreational staff. We already have people hired to do a lot of the work for the recreational staff on a seasonal position. Why not have some of them take care of some of the admin that comes in also? Why not have somebody on the marina take care of taking the checks in and putting the check numbers into a database? We have purchased a number of databases that are supposed to ease the workload. I'm worried that they have made the workload worse. But if they are databases, they should be able to be farmed out to people on a seasonal basis. We need to be thinking about how we can relieve this pressure on the pipe and not just continue to pay an additional bill for additional water that we really needed, but we couldn't afford to waste. I really would like to see a committee formed, and I hate to say a committee, but okay, never mind. That's going to help us go back and evaluate where we were before Sharon came in. What administrative things were we doing then when we didn't have to have long board meetings with all this contention, and make sure that we are doing what we need to do. And that is a personnel job. That's what they should be doing, and they're not. Instead, they're listening to the complaints, and they're listening, and they're trying to tell the staff, don't leave. We're going to give you money. Is that a sustaining solution to a problem like this? It is not. So, John, and this goes to you, because in case you haven't missed it yet, you are the person that brought us down this hole. You should resign, and resign today. Your masterful little stroke of getting the board to say, oh yes, you should be able to meet with put your hand down. You should be able to
I'm sorry,
meet
Sam,
with the
you're
administrator.
at 4
I'm not
minutes.
stopping, John. John, I'm not stopping.
I'm just asking you to
You
finish.
should be able to meet with the administrator and with, to talk about with developers. You should not be able to work with the administrator only. It has to be a board person, somebody who has a connection to the village, not Brian. He is our administrator. Please resign.
All right, thank you. Gloria, you're up next.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. So very quickly to the multiple points that have been raised. The first point that was raised was whether or not this meeting is allowed to have. If you look at Wisconsin statute 61.32, that defines exactly who is allowed to call a meeting. And it says, it does not say the administrator. It does say that 2 trustees can call a meeting in the village president's absence, but it says maybe special meetings may be called by any 2 trustees in writing filed with the clerk, who shall thereupon seasonably notify all the trustees of the time and place thereof in the manner directed by the bylaws. The ordinance that we have in the Village of Shorewood Hills is Chapter 2, the governing body, Section 2.01, meetings, subsection special meetings. Special village board meetings shall be held in accordance with the provisions of Wisconsin statute 61.32. So it references back to the Wisconsin statute. So we do need to have 2 trustees to have called this meeting in writing to the clerk. I'm not going to argue about which two trustees that needs to be. But I will ask everybody to remember back in October when Shabnam and Kate Oldvik did try to call a special meeting and they were repeatedly refuted. And then Carol and Dietmar were successfully able to call a special meeting. I want to say it was on October 15th. That's my memory. My memory is pretty good, but it's not perfect. John, to you.
We lost you, Gloria. Are you back, Gloria?
Oh, you lost me? So
yeah, you froze out. And you froze up again. Do you want to just go to audio to reduce
yes.
Let's try that.
Special meetings, referencing back to Wisconsin statute requiring 2 trustees to call the meeting.
Yeah.
But John, to the point that you were making, I think it was to David DeVito regarding not having been specifically trustee has been called out by name in any of these resignation exit letters. But I do know that Julie Wills, in her exit letter, October 15th, 2025, which I saw in October, Brian Mooney shared that with me. I noted at that time the specific call out. I'm going to read this: tying up staff time with multiple and sometimes duplicate requests, whether it be for record special meetings or additional and possibly unfunded projects, prevents them from getting their essential tasks done in a timely manner. And I have objected repeatedly since I saw that to the special meetings for exactly that reason, because staff specifically said during an exit interview that this was really awful for them. It adds to their already normal duties. And so I do object to these special meetings being called. The final point I want to make is regarding open records. I myself have not made any open records requests. However, I know many good people in this village who have made special records requests, open records requests, specifically about developers communicating directly with John Imes. And this week, I emailed John Imes when I saw some snippets of the Plan Commission package calling for development directly on Locust behind houses in Tally Ho that will be 5 feet tall and will have, it looks like, Joyce Erdman Place absorbed into this development, but we own that street. And this isn't anywhere online. The Plan Commission meeting hasn't been posted yet online, which is completely legal, but it hasn't been posted. The folks on Tally Ho they have no way of really knowing that this is even happening. And I emailed you, John Imes, on February 3rd, asking you for communications that you had shared with Mr. Flad. So, because I knew that people had ORR'd this already. And I asked for this just to not have people piling onto our staff. And John, in your email response to me, you told me you would not comply with that and that I needed to go and follow the process, the open records request process. So you put me back onto staff. And I just, it's a very circular process, and the village residents are in a position of feeling, through hearsay, that the residents are unfair to staff. I really like Julie. I really like Brian. I think Katie is a great addition. I don't have a personal vendetta against any of the staff. I'm also not doing open records requests. I have met specifically directly with Julie, asking her, how do I get this information as cleanly as possible without doing an ORR? It's really frustrating to ask for information from you as an elected official for things that you as an elected official are doing without including other members of the board or members of the committee. I'm not saying that Brian Mooney is wrong to meet with John Flad, but
Hey, Gloria, we lost you again, and we really need to wrap up. Gloria, are you still there? Okay, well, while we're waiting for a second, Julie, I just want to confirm that no one else is waiting to get in. I saw a couple things in the chat.
No, I've let everyone in. I was just a little slow on some of those while I was typing. Everyone's
Okay.
in, that there's no one in the waiting room.
Okay, and I talked with Brian this morning. I think the Plan Commission packet will be going out after this meeting. And I think, Brian, we should probably include my response to Gloria as part of that packet. Let's, Dan, I see your hand up. Dan, why don't you go ahead? Dan, sorry, your audio is off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to speak, but I feel like I have to. I'm married to Erica Moser. If she says we've lived here 51 years, I'll defer to that math. It's hard to know where to begin. I'd like to try to stay on the topic that I think we're here for. And if the meeting turns out to be improper, it's easy enough for the board to call another meeting to affirm whatever they do at this meeting. So to me, it's not life and death. And we spent a lot of time on that, and it's easily solved. I'm embarrassed and ashamed to be a member of this village the way business is being conducted. I know there's an issue about John Imes, whether he should resign or not. That's not what we're here for today. I don't know enough about the history of that to take a position. Several years ago, I started paying more attention and watching a lot of these meetings, and it's really disgusting at times. The person that spoke early today complaining about process, in my opinion, probably breaks the process more than any other board member that I've watched over the last couple of years. So process can be used and ignored when it doesn't fit someone's agenda. But I think we're here to deal with the personnel issue. And to me, it's a crisis and an emergency. This isn't about throwing money away. This is about trying to retain a couple of people so we don't lose them also. It's also about trying to be fair with their pay for having them do more than their regular jobs and their normal jobs. And it's probably temporary, and it'll have to get worked out. And there's nothing wrong with Personnel Committee down the road looking at this and reevaluating it. That's great. I don't think we have time to wait. What if one or two more people leave? What if Brian leaves? If I'm Brian, I'm looking for another job, perhaps. This is not an atmosphere that I would want to spend my life working in. So I support what's being done with respect to the personnel and with respect to open records. Sometimes they're legitimate, sometimes they're punitive, sometimes they're recreational, sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're not necessary. It's not for me to judge what's happened in the past. But I hope we don't abuse the open records law. It's there for a purpose, and it's not there for some other purposes. There is no excuse, in my opinion, for a board member or a resident to be anything but civil, polite, and caring to staff. I've been here 50 some years. Never once has a staff person disappointed me. They're responsive. They know what they're doing. If they don't, they figure it out. They're helpful. They're polite. They're civil. And I don't want to lose that. That's one of the things that makes this a special place to live. So whether or not one or two members of the board should resign is not what we're here for. We're here to save our employees because we need them desperately, and so I support it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dan. I just received a text. That we've talked to the village attorney, Bill Cole, and the meeting is not legal and should stop immediately. So we're gonna stop the meeting and we're gonna reschedule this discussion. I'm sorry for that confusion. We'll coordinate with staff and we will move forward from there. But I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. This issue was really important, and I know it's important to the staff, and look forward to additional resident perspectives and comment on this, and of course the board consideration discussion moving forward. Thank you again. I hope you'll enjoy.
John, would you or any of the trustees, I mean, it's not, the meeting shut down. Everything I think needs to be wiped from the record. This was illegal. So I'm glad, because I was going to make that suggestion, but is there any reason why some of us can't hang out in the Zoom room and just, you hear from your residents right now? Because some of us were waiting. No?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to say no on that, but
Okay.
Jennifer, appreciate your patience and your input, and we are where we are, so we'll just move forward from here. All right.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend, and we will we'll be getting back to residents in short order on next steps.
Okay. And I guess I'll say you can hang up, but we have enough lawlessness at the national level. It would be really great if we didn't have it in our own village.
Yep.
And the sheer fact of the illegality of this meeting should not be, and no one in the Zoom room should be indifferent to this at all. We all want the same thing. We want a functioning village. We want happy staff. We want good neighbors. And abiding by the law is the way to do that. So I just want to make sure whoever wants to listen to me, we should not be indifferent to the fact that this was illegal. And this is the kind of stuff that is going to run the village into the ground and get us absorbed by Madison. It's
right.
not okay. It's
right.
not okay.
We're-
It's
we're-
not okay that the vast majority of the residents have no idea that this meeting is even taking place.
Thanks for that. All right.
And on behalf of the residents, I just want you to know, it's not okay to make the rules up as you go along.
Yeah,
I thought the meeting ended, so I don't know why someone is still speaking.
yeah.
You can
Thank-
ignore me.
Do I have
I'm
your
just
permission to
talking.
end the meeting?
Thank you, Julie.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We apologize for any errors.